Welcome back to the LCS Challengers League. I am Mazel. I'm joined by Magical and Joshi, or Moshi, yet again. As before we get to our Rally Cry halftime show, I do want to break down that game one a little bit more. It was a doozy, gentlemen.
It's an uphill game.
That gold graph, maybe not representative of what we got in the end, but holy cow, was it a fun roller coaster, Joshi.
Yeah, we got to see a lot coming through. This is actually one of the better games that we have seen from Evil Geniuses overall, right? The way that they were playing some of their fights in the second half of the game was really, really good. Unfortunately, their laning phase kind of crumbled under the pressure of Perry.
I think that was the big thing, right? Is that their lane phase was the big struggle. Perry was all over the place. Smoothly did try to stop a lot of the bleeding. I think at one point he was like 2-0 and 3 because he made plays all across the map to try to equate that of Perry. But it just wasn't enough because Perry had done so much damage before Smoothie was able to really repair the ship that had already begun to sink for EGC. That it just allowed Shochi to at one point be 6-1. Sure, there were a couple of plays afterwards that he got a little bit too ambitious, but then Manui's just like, all right, I got this. I've been scaling up. I got the damage.
I will just say I got to give props to the kind of compositional strengths that we also saw. We obviously got Shochi's Yone, but Surdy bringing out the Quinn. And I know you were highlighting it in the draft, Magical, but it's really interesting, and I love to see that kind of confidence built in the fact that we get a lot of comfort champions on both sides. And now looking forward, I think that should be an interesting conversation, Joshi, as a final point.
Yeah, it definitely feels as though one of the major things we've always seen when Quinn is becoming a major pick against Renekton is people are like, fine, do it. We're going to sack our top lane, but you don't actually have a fifth character on your team. Because that is all Quinn does, is dunk on Renekton.
And we even kind of saw that in that last fight, right? It was a quadra kill that Manu was able to pick up. And where was Surdy? He was in the bot lane pushing for the inhibitor turret while his team was getting dove between turrets.
Very true. But that was game one. That was our kickoff for day 2 here. And speaking of, we'll be getting back to the game very shortly. But until then, got a Rally Cry halftime show. I get to twiddle my thumbs and have a little bit of fun with these two guys. As one of my favorites that I always love to do is because I have a bit of a background in zookeeping. I spent about 1.5 years working at the Buffalo Zoo, and I got to work with all kinds of animals, exotic to maybe your everyday farm animals.
And let me say the joke I made last time. Is it a zoo dedicated only to buffalo? Wow. Oh, my God. I creative joke.
Oh, my God. But I used to work with birds of prey. I used to be in the education department. I used to spend a lot of time with a lot of exotic animals. So I want to try to bring that to the table, and I want to try to attribute some of this skill to our players. So we got Challenger Safari here. I've gotten 4 players, and I've tried to get responses out of them. But I haven't necessarily gotten all of them. Give me
and he choose a duck.
No, that's not an exotic animal. Unless you get an exotic duck, then maybe.
Okay, I remember going to the
Unfortunately,
zoo,
not.
and there was like this really rare duck. It was like a whistling duck.
Nice.
It was actually like,
at you?
No, yeah, it actually was like, it didn't crack. It just full on like whistled, but it was a duck. And I'm like, that is so cool.
All right, well, with Challenger Safari, I've chosen 4 animals and attributed them to some players. I also have reached out to a few players and gotten some favorite animals. So we'll have to see which one are which, and we'll start off with our first one, which, to no surprise, is an epic one, as it is the Rock Hopper Penguin.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Penguin as a whole.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's a pretty good answer. Now, let's just be the caveat that I chose Rock Hopper because the general answer was penguin, and there are a lot of penguins, guys. All right,
yes,
I don't always want to do the Emperor Penguin because he gets they get all the spotlight. All right,
fair,
you got to do other ones sometimes. So this is the Rock Hopper Penguin. What player do you think favorite animal is a penguin? Now, I'll give you some facts while we're dissecting this one.
Feels like
maybe not the animal itself. Waterproof.
I feel like
feathers
Shochi.
To protect against cold water. Jumping from rock to rock, like jumping from kill to kill.
It's in the name.
Can alter the shape of their eyes to give them vision both above and below water. And they are some of the most aggressive penguins, always looking for a fight. You are correct. It was Shochi.
The moment you said hopping from rock to rock, play from play, I'm like, it's Shochi. It's got to be Shochi.
Yeah.
It is Shochi with our first favorite animal. He just sent penguins to me. He said penguins or pandas. But we have way too many players that like pandas. So, I had to go with the penguins. Last time I had the chance to talk about him as well, he also wanted emperor penguins, so I did that one last. You know, you gotta change up, especially because penguins are diverse, just like Shochi. Okay, you give them pentakills, you give them. I don't know. Somehow it all works.
Am I the only one as a kid that wanted either a penguin or an otter as a pet?
No, I think most kids did.
It's very difficult to take care of. Trust me,
as a kid,
I know.
You don't think about that. As a kid, you don't think about that. You're just like, penguins are cool, otters are cool. I want them as pets.
All right, well, we're going to go to our next favorite animal. So the first one was Shochi with a penguin, and this one was a rockhopper penguin. Woo. But next up, we got the emu.
Okay, it's got to be an
historic
30.
Well, I wonder how that came about. How did you guess 30?
Because Australia lost to emus in the Great Emu War.
I was gonna put that in the facts, but it didn't make the cut. All right.
I got you. Don't worry.
Not favorite animal, but the one I have assigned to him is the emu, as it's the most iconic animal from Australia. It isn't their national bird though.
More iconic than a kangaroo
or a koala.
I think it is. That's one of the prehistoric animals that gets
more
to come out
iconic, but emus are also.
I get to decide here, okay? Also, one of the most iconic top laners from there for me personally. So there's the tie-in. If you just let me finish my sentences, they are the only bird with calf muscles. Can you believe that? That's actually kind of insane. Wow. They find water by following storm clouds. And Surdy's always looking for the action, always looking for the storm. They lie awake before going to sleep, sometimes up to 20 minutes.
Just like me.
Right? But that's not normal for a bird. You don't just see birds like contemplating life before they go to sleep.
Well, I'm pretty sure emus are also pretty dumb. They
want a war, Alex.
Why you gotta do this? All right, we're gonna move forward.
They're considered pests in Australia too.
They can run. No, but also farmers actually like them because they'll eat caterpillars and bugs and eat the burrows off of.
Yeah, but they'll also destroy fences.
Yeah,
and,
you know what? We'll move past. They can also
stuff.
run 30 miles an hour. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. No, oh, did you?
I actually did.
Are you a zookeeper? No. We'll move on to the next one. That was Surdy, the emu. Going for him. Now, it is next up one of my favorite animals, actually my favorite animal, in the tiger. Okay. And this one is a favorite animal of this player. Now, like the human fingerprint, tiger stripes are unique to themselves. They can actually communicate with the white pieces on the ear, on the front and the back. And they use that typically to communicate with their young or their pack members. It's actually really cool. The vocal repertoire is vast, my friends. They can growl, roar, hiss, huff, grunt. They can moan. They can do all the words and different sounds you could possibly ask for. Their roar can also be heard over a mile away, and they are the largest large cat. Whose favorite animal is
I'm going to go with Shaden.
I feel like it's a JJ answer because he's the one who needs to be like, shut up, I need to say something.
It is Perry, whose favorite animal is the tiger. I thought the vocal repertoire might do it, but the communication with his teammates also with the white on the ears. But it is Perry, whose favorite animal is the tiger.
What does that mean, Lennon?
He doesn't have, because they're all on the same page. You don't have to say anything. You just communicate with your ears.
Okay.
Look at that.
See, usually if they're gaming, their ears are going to be covered.
That's why you get some new headphones. That
let your ears show.
Anyways, that was Perry's favorite animal, the tiger. We'll move on to the last one here, and it is none other than the king of the jungle in the lion.
This one's
another very close favorite one.
This one's got to be Shade.
We're gonna go ahead and go through some of these facts while you guys continue to guess because you're wrong. Roars can be heard 5 miles away. The most social of all the big cats.
King. It's got to be king.
Males spend a majority of time guarding / protecting their territory. They can run in bursts of 50 miles an hour and also leap up. It's bursts. It's a little burst.
That's still
insane. This one got me. 36 feet. Imagine being able to full run and sprint, jump 36 feet. That is nuts. That is insane. Also, lions' heels don't touch the ground when they walk.
Just like
What do you mean? What do you mean?
How their paws are centered? They're elevated. So the back of their paw never touches the ground. Yeah. So they're literally always on their tiptoes. It's kind of cool. So who do you think it
King.
was?
King.
You thought it was King? It is King.
Yeah.
King of the jungle goes with King of my heart. It is the lion here representing King. It was not a favorite, but fits the name, fits the nomenclature.
I do have an important question for you, Lennon.
Yes.
Can you communicate with your ears?
No.
No. I think I can.
I'm
I
not
don't know
a
if you can
tiger.
tell.
Let's see if I can guess what my color cast is saying.
What is he saying?
Okay, he's saying, Magical
This is
is
happening in the
amazing.
wild.
He won 3-0. 3-0. Is
I
what
didn't realize we
he
were
said.
competing.
That was not competing, but at this point.
It happened now.
Oh my goodness, we just got to see biology unfold in front
Talent.
of us.
That was just raw talent.
wildlife communicating. I've never seen it before. Oh my god.
The wild Joshi communicating.
Holy cow, Joshi's communicating. Anyways, that was Challenger Safari. That was our Rally Cry halftime show, and a lot of fun to have, but also I always love talking about animals with my background. I get to use my degree sometimes.
Yeah, go back to your buffalo.
Yeah, go back to Buffalo.
I'm good. I'm sorry. I don't want to go back to Buffalo. Anyways, we can go back to games, though. Is that okay with you guys? Is that cool? Or are we
That
good?
is.
Are we going to
I
get
think-
okay?
I
we're
think I'm
going to
good with
game
it.
2 then. All right, Fear versus EGC. Let's go ahead and kick it off.
All right. And did you know that if you say Buffalo 7 times, it's an actual grammatically correct sentence?
Yeah.
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 You brought that one up several times.
I always like to whenever Buffalo is
Yeah.
brought up because it's one of those things that just shouldn't be there, but it is. And speaking of shouldn't be there, right now we haven't seen any bans, and we should see some bans coming in from both teams.
Wow.
Really curious to see what we're going to actually see change here for EGC because it felt like when it came to the team fight, like when it came to later into the game, composition was working well, but they were so far behind that they were constantly playing to catch up. They were constantly playing to get back into the game. And I think that was the biggest problem because for Fear, all they had to have was just one good play, which they ended up getting, to bounce back into the game to win it. While EGC, it felt like they had to have 3, 4, maybe 5 amazing plays just to win.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we have been seeing, right? Evil Geniuses have really struggled in a lot of their games so far to come back from deficits they have had in the past. That was one where they actually managed to do that. Unfortunately, the same problems that got them into the deficit in the first place also lost them their lead, where people were getting caught out later on. As we kind of identified, right? Evil Geniuses, my suspicion is that their problem is that they stop talking when they start falling behind. Cincinnati Fear potentially talk too much, right? There's a happy medium somewhere in between where we really need to find overall. But we are going to be going back over to Sejuani for Shaden coming through. This was one of the champions that he had the most success on in spring when Ryoma first joined the team.
Yeah, but I do kind of think that the Poppy has been more of the standout performance for Shaden. So going on to the Sejuani, something that has non-committal engage, I do like as well. But I also like seeing Shaden on that Poppy, mostly because we look over to Fear and what they like to draft. They do like to draft things with a lot of dashes. Looking at that Wukong for Perry, his most played in spring. In fact, I think he was something like 13-1 on the champion in spring that drew bans all playoffs long because how good he was on this champion.
Yeah, people definitely recognize like, maybe if we take this champion away from Perry, it will help out our chances of winning. But we also have JJ going on to the realm. This champion is kind of gross, honestly, with all the buffs that it has been receiving over the past couple of changes, especially after the big rework. We continue to see it almost everywhere. But Evil Geniuses, one of the big things that I always look at with them is how do they set up their top lane for success? And right now, I mean, it looks to be just giving Surdy the blind pick Jax. This has been a character that has been continuing to rise in priority and something that Surdy is shown a lot of familiarity with throughout his career so far, and really looking to just take total control of the top lane away from Philip.
And when we look at Surdy as a player, the reason why he's always been someone we've always highlighted is not only his lane phase, but just how good he is when it comes to being that split push, being the guy in the side lane that can help the rest of the team set up things and get control in the later elements of the game. And we even almost saw that in that last game. If it wasn't for that one fight that happened, he was pushing all the way to the inhibitor turret by himself. And had EGC played maybe just a little bit more passively, gotten a little further back, he probably could have opened up the bot lane before Fear could really do anything to collapse back on him. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. So looking at this game, how he can play with this Jax, it is going to be a blind Jax though. So Philip does have options. I would expect, now that Kaisa has been locked in for Manui, that Gragas will probably be banned by EGC, because that is something that we tend to see oftentimes in its Jax.
We did see that yesterday. Surdy had a great time playing the Jax into the Gragas, right? It is something where it is Jax favored the better the Jax gets.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily the easiest thing for a lot of other players to play into. But Philip, it has been one of his most played so far this play.
Right.
He does have 4 games on it so far. And I definitely feel as though, having seen this draft already come through from Cincinnati Fear, they do need to make sure that they have something with a little bit more damage coming out than the Gragas. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Kennen actually coming out from the side of Philip.
That would be an interesting one, and they could obviously lock that in, then hold on to blind pick for Shochi at the very end, especially because with the Ziggs anti-ban levied towards Shochi, you do want to put him in the best position possible, since Tristana, something that he has liked to blind pick a lot, has been taken off the board. I'm kind of looking at what Fear want to get, and you're right. There it is. That Kennen pick right away, and it really provides, like, that is one hell of a wombo combo Cincinnati Fear have. Kennen, Wukong, Rel.
Yeah. And now that asks a really interesting question of what they want to be their last pick, right? Because Kennen oftentimes does enough magic damage all on his own that you don't necessarily need to bring more. And Kaisa, I mean, we are still on 13-12 when the Static Shiv plus the Nashor's Tooth build comes out, and it does a lot of magic damage there as well. So the only thing that we need to find coming out from Cincinnati Fear is actually probably more physical damage, which makes me wonder if Shochi is going to be going back over to the Yone. It's nowhere near as good into the Syndra as it is into the Azir, but, I mean, the way that Shochi was playing the early laning phase and most of that game as well was very impressive regardless.
Yeah, the big one I'm kind of looking at, though, is Jace. Jace still open. There's always a solid pick into a lot of things, even into Syndra. You can get a lot of poke with that Jace. And with what they have so far, could help out a lot, especially if you can get everyone kind of corralled into tight corridors. But we'll have to see whether or not they want to grab something that is going to be more that physical damage dealer, or if they want to get something that is still going to be solid into Syndra. They were kind of hovering things like that Ahri that we have also seen a lot of. But does seem, let's wait for it. Wait for it.
Oh, let's go!
That's a Zed!
Dude, I was expecting if we were going to see a Zed this split, it was going to be coming out of Robbie Bob, one of his classic champions. But Shochi going to be the first one bringing it out here in Challengers League. And Cincinnati Fear, I mean, we said they needed to bring some physical damage. This is definitely doing so. Now, it is one of the few champions that can actually keep up with King, with all the dashes that the champion does have. But it's also a character that can be very attackable in the laning phase because of the very long cooldown that the Shadow does have. Right. If you use it to be aggressive, that's a perfect window for Shaden to come in.
Exactly. So I think it will go back to what we're kind of talking about between the two junglers, showing up mid lane to really impact that, because Perry loves to attack mid lane, really help out Shochi. We saw, even if he did play around Philip in the initial stages, would show up mid lane with JJ in tow so they can put Ryoma behind as far as they could and then get Shochi to roam across the map. And if you can do that with the Zed, it's pretty much the exact same story that we saw in Game 1, but into Game 2 for Cincinnati Fear. Get Shochi into these mobile situations, move around the map, and pack side lanes. Put members like King behind so that he can't ever actually get to that point as Ezreal where he can be scary.
Yeah. This is another game that feels kind of similar in the sense that there's a lot of pressure being put on Shochi here. Whenever you elect to play these assassins, you need to be strong. You need to be strong enough to burst people out when they actually go for fights. And I actually really love the patience there from Surdy, making sure that he doesn't go for a fight, expecting that someone's probably around the corner. But now, Cincinnati Fear using that pressure to get a little bit more vision down. So Shochi opting to go with the teleport, actually a little bit surprising to me. It doesn't give them as much kill pressure in lane, but it does mean that they're going to be a more effective split pusher and create a lot of pressure in the backline.
Do you have a bit of a late invade? Shochi venturing by himself will be spotted out by Shaden, and wow, that is a deep ward. They have so much control on the top half of this map that EGC have to pretty much play with that knowledge that Shaden's, even if he's not spotted on the boards, they know exactly what he's up to. They know where he's starting, that he's going to be on this bottom quadrant. And even look how Fear are playing. Manui and JJ, already going to be first down here into the spot lane. So they can try to get that level 2 experience lead first and really bully King and Smoothie, who've gone for double exhaust.
Yeah, I mean, they know that there's going to be a lot of damage coming through. You need one for the Kennen, you need one for the Zed as well. And I love the fact that they're both trying to take it here. It also gives you a lot of pressure in the laning phase because you use one and then you wait for that to expire, then you use the second one and somebody exhausted for, I think, like 6 seconds at that point. That's an entire 2v2 that they actually go for. So they have a lot of kill pressure in that regard as well. But Cincinnati Fear, we are seeing that both junglers are going for a match start. They will both find themselves in the top half.
Smoothie taking a lot of damage, even Ignite on his head. Poking out this Recon. A double exhaust is going to be a little bit more risky to actually look for when you're that low as Smoothie, especially because, well, yeah, double exhaust is going to be nice, especially if you can layer the CC properly. Manui does have that cleanse. That kind of helps mitigate a lot of that and makes it so even if you go for that as EGC, I think it's more about playing this lane passively, and that's why they have the call start here. It's a typical start anyways for Ezreal, but especially in this lane, I'm expecting to see Cincinnati Fear's 2v2 be so much stronger than what EGC can provide.
Yeah, Shaden coming up towards the top side though. Surdy has been pushed around very aggressively.
Philip waiting out, flashing away from the leap strike. Flash will be burned on Philip, so he is going to be susceptible, especially as the wave is going to slowly push back towards Surdy. I wouldn't be surprised if Shaden kind of hung around here in this top lane. Yep, he is kind of hanging out in the wings. But doesn't realize that Perry's right there inside of that tri-bush. So they're going to jump on top of him. Get a lot of damage back onto Shaden, but look how far back Philip has to play because he is so susceptible without that flash. They get the stun, and the counter-strike's done onto Perry as well. First blood for Surdy.
Philip not going to find anything on the backside. That's double buffs going over towards the Jax. That is so bad for this top lane here for Philip. Already losing a flash, giving your opponents a double buff, so he has a freeze. He has more power. Philip in a really tough position up in the top side of the map, not going to be able to push around, and Shaden goes and gets the early scuttle crab and not going to be returning towards the top side. Man, this is a fantastic start coming out from Evil Geniuses because now Jax, one of the best characters at dealing with Zed later on in the game.
Great dealing with Zed. Got to be able to bully Kennen as well. Like you said, double buffs on Surdy's head. Shaden doesn't need to play around this top lane anymore. That's done. It's done and dusted. He can just be like, yep, I've done my job. Let's go play somewhere else. Have fun, Surdy. Enjoy the double buffs and enjoy bullying around Kennen.
Yeah, look how far back he has to play. Both junglers coming up towards the top side again.
Counter-strike, not going to connect that time. It was a nice stun from Philip. Surdy, even if he does have the double buffs, he hasn't been able to recall yet, reset that lane so he can kind of top himself back off in health. Neither has Philip. That's why you just see kind of both of them, the ebb and flow back and forth. Maybe even Philip trying to bait back in Surdy since Perry is nearby. But there's still flash available, and you don't want to go for that smoke.
I don't even know if that was playable if Shaden wasn't there.
Like that, he dies regardless.
Yeah.
Like I said, Surdy had flash. How do you escape that one as Philip?
That was a very aggressive move, shall we say, coming out from Philip, going down really unprompted there, and so suddenly Evil Geniuses, they're pairing up Shaden and Surdy, and this is a recipe for success, right? When Surdy has gold leads, when Shaden's early ganks go well, these are when Evil Geniuses look their best. When they have a lot of confidence to really play with, and the rest of the map, you know, with a small deficit in the bot lane and a mid lane that is relatively even, they're doing just fine so far. They haven't necessarily fallen behind here, and so we're putting even more pressure on Shochi than what we were expecting in the first place.
And I'm just looking at this top lane. Surdy's already level 6. And Surdy, as a player that we've always praised for his lane domination, how strong this guy has been at getting leads on his own. Well, this time, it wasn't on his own. It was with the help of Shaden, setting up this Jax to be 1-0-1, 10 CS already at 6 minutes above Kennen. And as Kennen, you need to get level 6. You want to be a part of these team fights, but if you ever now join in these team fights with how strong Surdy is, he's going to take everything from you.
So we'll see, right? There are still big wombo combo tools available for the members of Cincinnati Fear that we haven't seen an opportunity to actually go for it yet, right? When we start getting these team fights, it is going to be a lot of pressure on JJ to get things started. He, Perry, and Philip can link up in ways that are basically impossible for Evil Geniuses to deal with. The only character that can stop that from happening effectively is Ryoma. And it was how Evil Geniuses were able to find some of their really big wins.
Right. And even looking back last game, Ryoma, the Emperor's Divides he had in some of those fights were honestly why they were able to nearly fully wipe Cincinnati Fear in a position when they were so far behind. You had great uses of the displacement tools, and here on this Inter, it's got to be on point with those Scatter the Weeds. It's a lot more difficult to land those. Spot lane, whoo! Smoothie took a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage coming through. Both exhausts still available, so dives are still difficult. Now Evil Geniuses, again, I mean, look at the comps they're playing with. Perry has given up a lot of camps in order to make sure that he can try and prop up the rest of his team. He hasn't gotten anything for it just quite yet, and Cincinnati Fear are just going to have to go back and sit and farm, which is not what they want to do. This is a composition that really thrives when they are ahead, when they can dictate when fights happen.
Yeah, but I also feel like they still need those level 6s, right? Perry's only level 5, JJ level 4. Those are going to be big spikes for them when they look for a lot of those fights. And I think once they get those tools online, that's when things are going to be difficult for EGC to do. But see in the top lane, that is looking like a dive. Dodging away. They do get the counter-strike on to Philip, but they've been taking up this turret forever.
Wow.
Philip nearly turning it around onto Shaden, but he's got to be careful. He's clearing out the minion waves next again. The flash coming in from Surdy to pick up the kill. Shochi has shown up into the top lane, but so has Ryoma. So that is going to be EGC. Even if it was delayed, they get the kills. They get out of there. They even force Perry away. Ryoma chasing away Wukong.
Getting the flash out as well, but JJ's here as well. The fight's not done.
They've got the stun, pulling him back with the crash down as well. Ryoma, you unleash power, almost picked up the kill with a flash in from JJ. Will take the first kill for Fear. Also, just want to say shout out to the LEC for the raid. Thank you all for joining in. We're here with EGC and Fear as... Oh, that's not nearly enough. Fear had at least leashed out the Rift Herald enough, but with Smoothie nearby, and look at where the pathing is. They've got Surdy about to show up with low health bars on Fear. Philip doesn't have Slicing Maelstrom anymore.
Everybody's here.
He's on the other side, looking for a little bit of damage onto Surdy. That's going to be the disengage. Lots of damage with a pull back in. Shochi's got the mark on to Surdy. They got shut down. Gold for Zed.
That's really big. One of the exhausts from Smoothie being committed onto Philip. He didn't even have the ultimate, just the instincts coming through to try and take them down. Shaden not going to find anything there either. All 5 members of Cincinnati Fear move towards the top side, and they are basically equal in gold again after these couple of big fights. And as you touched on, the shutdown going over to Shochi, this guy needs to be able to kill people. Finding that extra money, finding the extra damage coming through with the completed Ravenous Hydra suddenly allows him to play this lane and allows him to play the side lanes really effectively. And you have a split pusher that will be able to match Jax.
If we take a look at this replay, definitely look at where that exhaust goes. Goes onto onto Philip, as you called out, who does not have the Slicing Maelstrom available.
And as the rest of the fight comes through, Shochi waiting for his moment, actually gets a ton of damage after all the buttons have been pressed. And as you called out, the Mark able to find the kill and the shutdown onto the very fed top laner that Evil Geniuses have built for themselves. Now, I still feel as though Evil Geniuses are in a pretty decent spot, right?
Yeah,
mentally, we know that when Shaden's early plays go well, he is much more willing to make plays happen. But the rest of Evil Geniuses, now they need to be able to continue to fight and not go silent.
This is where Surdy getting a lot of damage back onto Philip in the top lane. Trying to make sure that he can constantly crash these waves back in so he can move around the map first, especially because Philip does have some time until that TP is available. And you want to keep this cannon pinned under the turret, so that way if he does end up TPing elsewhere on the map, he's going to lose a lot for each play. But unfortunately for EGC, because Shochi was able to get that shutdown kill off of Surdy, like you called out, that Ravenous Hydra completed, he actually has got push priority over Ryoma, and bot lane was already winning for Fear. So they get themselves that first dragon of the game as well. They already had the Rift Herald beforehand.
Yeah, Philip tried to go for a bit of a freeze there, botches it. a little bit as he lets the minions get underneath her range and then also misses the minion. But I like the idea coming through from Philip, but also going back to the big points you were talking about, right? There are a lot of dive tools coming out from Cincinnati Fear. There's a lot of pressure going on to Ryoma and King, but again, we got to go back to the fact that Ryoma on this Syndra, when King got caught going up against Team Liquid Challengers, I believe in week 2, it was Ryoma who saved his bacon, right? He was the one who lands a 4-man stun to keep King alive and keeps them in the game at the same time. And now, Cincinnati Fear, they have Ryoma. He's farming rather well. He's almost on a completed item. He can move to help Shaden.
Shaden is getting a lot of damage back on a parry, but the fact that JJ shows up and a TP
Shochi
from Shochi as well should scare off Shaden. You can even see that Ryoma using the best he...
Alex? Oh no. Well, Alex is gone. He just got me at this point, so we're going to try and flex the play-by-play chops a little bit as we come through, but unlikely to see a major fight for the next couple of minutes while we do have the Infernal Dragon spawning in about 3. But this is one of the big games that we were kind of looking at, right? Cincinnati Fear, for their inconsistency in some of their plays that they have had, they are consistently beating teams beneath them and losing to teams above them. Evil Geniuses, having recently readopted Surdy, shall we say, into the top lane after Seoul was having a really tough start to the season, are now looking to showcase that they are, in fact, taller than Cincinnati Fear, that they are allowed to ride into the top half of the Challengers League bracket. But so far, it has been Cincinnati Fear who is taking control of the first game completely for the first half of it, and now as Cincinnati Fear, they move into it. They don't have the same kind of early pressure we haven't been seeing that JJ and Perry have been looking into the mid lane in the ways that got Shochi's Yone super far ahead, right? They end up killing Ryoma 3 times by the 15-minute mark in game 1, but haven't even looked at all for this game.
Looks like my OBS died on me. Sorry about that. But I'm back. I was wondering. I was talking the whole time. I'm like, huh, where'd Josh go? But here we go.
Unlucky.
Unlucky.
Well, nothing happened.
Yeah. No, I was able to watch the whole game. I just, for some reason.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, right now we actually see that Philip is starting to get that push back against Surdy pretty heavily in this top lane, which is, I think, going to be the biggest problem for EGC, since there was so much attention put onto Surdy to get him ahead in the side lane. And Philip, 0-2, has now got a CS lead and even getting the push priority against Surdy. Look how low he constantly gets Surdy in this matchup. It's forcing Ryoma to have to show up here. Should be able to pick up this kill with the Scatter of the Week pretty easily. Collapse there, but what does Fear get on the rest of the map? We kind of look through the bot lane. There's not really much for them to play around.
I mean, they're pinging towards the bottom side of the map. It's easy to push this wave and you have a static Shiv. They're all here, in force, ready to go.
Not many minions. That's going to be the biggest problem. That's going to be a TP from Surdy, denying that dive from Cincinnati Fear. And look at Shaden on the other side. They get the knockup onto JJ, crash down over the wall, but Surdy wants to re-engage. They've got a lot of damage onto JJ. The flash away as Perry is going to be the target, but they got Shochi to the back line. Looking to take down Surdy with the mark again. And the pump not enough. Oh, but they get the kill with the Shuriken and the Shadow. Manui,
no way.
The kite back. And guess who's here? Philip's here to save the day as Fear take down EGC 3-0.
Blinking red health bars across the board coming out from Cincinnati Fear, but once again they have all 5 members. Evil Geniuses do not, and they fight their way back to another goal. They now will disappear as this turret goes down, but Cincinnati Fear, this game was looking so doomed at the very beginning with the amount of pressure that Surdy had built up on the top side of the map, but Philip coming back, fighting those 2 kills in that last fight and not even needing to use the ultimate means that the fighter on the next dragon should go well for them. But if you take a look, everybody on Evil Geniuses is able to funnel right on in, but they get caught by massive damage from not even Perry proper, Perry's clone. And Shochi distracts so heavily from the rest of the fight that everybody, as I start to kite around, is really struggling to come in as they come out of their own choke point. And Shochi, again, with a couple of clutch shurikens, picking up Surdy on the back half of that fight, really showcasing some fantastic Zed mechanics.
The fact that then Philip afterwards cleans up 2 kills, like you said, didn't even need to use the Slicing Maelstrom, so has that still in the back pocket for any future plays for Cincinnati Fear. even if the gold is dead even, it feels like it's such a large lead now for Cincinnati Fear, getting the Dragon, having another Rift Herald, and kind of pinning EGC back towards every one of their towers.
Yeah, it's Evil Geniuses should be able to defend their blue buff. Goes over to parry, actually. But now it's time to start shifting your attention to the bottom half of the map. The Infernal Dragon is up, and this is potentially the single most important dragon, not necessarily like in order, but the single best dragon for Cincinnati Fury to actually pick up because of how much every single player on their roster benefits from that small percentage increase in the stats. Cincinnati Fear, they're doing it. There's no response coming out from Evil Geniuses, but they might try and steal by yeeting Shaden over the wall.
That would be so difficult. Even look at how JJ's positioning there. Make sure there's no way that Shaden can even get in the pit. And like I said, the gold might be even, but it feels like Cincinnati Fear have such a large lead because every single one of their lanes has priority now. EGC feel like they're the ones on the back foot, that they can't really fight into Fear because the Wombo combo is fully online now for Fear. If you look top lane, Shochi looking for that kill, but with the stopwatch there for Ryoma, one thing that can always outplay is Zed.
True. Now he has to buy the rest of the stopwatch, right? He has to buy the actual Sony's Air Glass. We're seeing it collapse on the bottom side.
3 members here as well. It's going to be the Magnetorm, the Flash Wave. Cat of the Week only got a little bit of damage onto Philip, but it's going to be JJ that takes the brunt of the damage.
How do they defend their top lane turret? Yeah, they get the kill there onto JJ, but it looks as though Surdy's teleport will be up momentarily, and it will be up in time to actually defend the top lane structure, but he's relatively low. Don't even need to. Shochi not confident enough to actually go for the attack on the top half of the map. But still, Evil Geniuses, they end up coming out with a bit of a lead there.
Shochi's even TPing into the top lane. So he isn't actually going to look for it. He just wanted to get that Black Cleaver beforehand. It's a lot of damage onto it, but not nearly enough to actually topple the structure.
That's okay. I mean, he still has plenty of time to try and make things happen later, right? One of the things as we look at this game is, unless Evil Geniuses have a massive advantage, Fear is always going to be in the game. Even, like, there's a certain point at which it doesn't matter how far ahead Evil Geniuses is if we get far enough in. If everybody on Fear gets to 3 items, like, cool. It doesn't matter that you are already on 6. We have enough damage in our Wombo combo to take you down anyway. Yeah. Cincinnati Fear, they're starting to open up the map a little bit more as these turrets start falling. Zed really starts becoming a menace because you just don't know where he is.
And like I said, I feel like that's why, even if the gold now is about 1,000 for Fear, it feels like they have just such a large lead, even if it's not really a large lead, just because of how their composition really works into that of EGC. So for EGC, I'm still looking at Surdy, looking at Shaden, and what they can really do to kind of disrupt that Wombo combo from Cincinnati Fear. Is it just continually attack Philip?
I mean, you can. One of the things that is really tough about this map in particular, now that we are on a Chemtech map, it is really hard to keep vision in either side of the map. And once you are in that spot, Zed becomes really, really tough for Evil Geniuses to deal with. And now just going on Ryoma.
You already used Scout of the Week. Shochi looking for the play, but the quickness on top of him. Unleash power, not enough to pick up the kill, but they got a lot of damage. The follow-up, the Wombo combo. Even if Shaden was there to back up, look at Philip here. Surdy dashing forward, but it was a stun. They already got onto Surdy, so he couldn't pick up the kill onto Shochi, and he is corralled into the alcove. No escape for Surdy as Perry takes him down.
I like the look coming out from Evil Geniuses, but it puts them in such a dire straits. Now, members of Evil Geniuses looking to try and potentially pick up Shochi as they move around, but Cincinnati Fear have showcased absolutely no fear. They're going for the Baron right away.
20 minutes in, they're going right on spawn for it. They're still actually on top of it. Shaden and Smoothie nearby, but both ults are gone. They look for the re-engage. They got the damage onto Smoothie. He could not battle dance his way out of that one. With Shaden and King still on the other side, the aggro on Baron has not been relented by Cincinnati Fear. Even look at JJ and how far forward he's playing Shochi with the mark onto King. They've got the kill onto Shaden. No longer do they have to worry about the smite fight there. It's going to be on King, who does not have true shot barrage. They are low, but they're going to secure it and then look for the play as King dashes away.
Yet again, Cincinnati Fear are getting away with so many players on low health bars. The way that they have adapted and not going all in this game compared to game one is helping them out so much. They're taking gambles and they're consistently coming out ahead. The Turo Baron buff, 5,000 or 4,500 gold already for Cincinnati Fear. Most of their members are on 2 items already. Some of them are getting close to 3. And even though the Chemtech Soul sucks, you still want to grab these extra dragons just for the extra stats, potentially give you more game-ending tools. We'll take another look at this one. I love the turn coming out from JJ and Manui, right? Instantly popping Smoothie before they are able to battle dance out of that one. And then after that, Shochi, his ultimate is such a low cooldown, he's ready to go back into the fight immediately. If King doesn't have that double exhaust like we were talking about, he probably also goes down.
As now Ryoma, we go back to live. There's no escape for him out of this one. He's used everything in the take to try to escape. The chase down is there. They've got the stun. They could give the kill over to Philip, but instead they're going to secure the kill because they want to reset on the map as they have already started booking it down mid.
This is also where Cincinnati Fear have had some of their troubles, is when they are splitting their members up too much. They got in a lot of trouble with that earlier in the week, and now, I mean, as you're kind of talking about, right, this Jax is being easily matched by players like Philip and Shochi, and is so far back, is nowhere close to even hitting the outer turret in the bottom lane, and it gives Cincinnati Fear so much time to push up there, hitting this inhibitor turret completely uncontested.
Now, what can EGC do right now? They can't step up. Shochi's too scary for King to get nearby, especially because both their exhausts are gone. King Smoothly don't have that, which is the big tool that you have to deny Shochi from these engages. So instead, they're looking for stragglers on their way out. They've got a lot of damage on a JJ with the quickness as well, picking up the kill. But now they got to get out of there. They've lost one. Trade a jungler for support. Azurti, he still wants the fight. Doesn't have that flash, though, so we can't get the flash counter-strike. Instead, it'll just be the pure trade while mid lane completely opened by Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 1-for-1, but there's still opportunities to play for this upcoming Dragon, and Cincinnati Fear does open the base. Just as we were talking about in Game 1, it's so hard for Cincinnati Fear to actually go for some of these sieges. So Ryoma getting caught in the top lane is going to be helping out Fear so much, because now they don't need to just sit there and siege. They can say, well, we got these minions walking down the mid lane. Are you going to deal with them? Yeah? Okay, cool. Well, we're going to take your turrets instead. And now, with the end of the Turo Baron buff coming through, Cincinnati Fear will be picking up their 3rd dragon of the game as well.
Yeah, Cincinnati Fear getting a lot off that Turo Baron buff. They open up mid lane. They can peel back for the dragon there. Now 7,000 gold up on EGC. We still haven't really seen Shaden and Surdy, the power that they had from the early stages of the game, really have that same force against Fear. Everything else seems to be struggling. Because now Shochi does get tagged. Oh, okay, Ryoma. That's cool. Just pop Shochi like that.
Well, it's Philip, but yeah, I mean, he's just dead.
Philip, you're right.
Yeah.
Same thing.
At the same time, Cincinnati Fear still have not started up the dragon. Okay, now they have. But going really aggressive, right? Ryoma, even though they've died a lot, still has a lot of gold. It's had a lot of time to stack up those Syndra bucks. That looked like an execute, I think, coming through.
Okay, well, now Ryoma gets a lot of damage onto Shochi, but the biggest problem is even with that kill onto Philip, they don't stop the dragon stacking there for Cincinnati Fear, now at their 3rd one of the game. And even if you can make an argument that Chemtech Soul is not the greatest, it's still power that Cincinnati Fear are picking up over that of EGC that really EGC haven't been able to find any answers for.
We're also seeing some of the effects of not being able to have the same kind of vision control, right? It really exacerbates the defender's advantage in a lot of these situations. Ryoma just catching out Philip, using the ultimate, and killing him before he had an opportunity to do anything. He ends up flashing air as the dive. A scuffle happening on the top side?
I think there's a little bit of a scuffle. Philip is in the bot lane. More just a vision control. Perry dodging away. Nicely done. Wrong monkey. The re-engage. They burst down. Smoothie. He's so squishy. And Shochi also gets popped by Ryoma. But look at Philip now part of the fight. The exhaust on top of him. But they got the double kill for Perry as EGC. There are 2 members that are too low to really fight the chase down. Triple kill for Perry. Azurti, the next one, the flash away, will not escape danger as Fear find themselves a quadra kill and an ace over EGC.
Oh, JJ using the stopwatch. A little bit of style there as they bring in the minions from the top wave as well. Cincinnati Fear, Perry having a massive game this time around. getting Evil Genius to over-engage on the wrong monkey. It's simply giving them a 2-0 in ways that I wasn't really expecting. I was definitely really looking how Shochi was going to play this game, but instead it was their jungler coming back on his best champion to keep Evil Geniuses down in the dirt.
Fear has yet to lose a single game to EGC all of 2023. That is their 8th straight victory over them. They are now 8-0 against Evil Geniuses Challengers. And gotta say, game 1, there were moments where it looked like EGC could come back into the game. But game 2, it felt like outside of the top lane, everything was favoring Fear.
It has definitely been a good look, right? And unfortunately, it does look as though the beatings will continue until morale improves here for Evil Geniuses. This is unfortunately their 4th consecutive loss with the return of Surdy. Cincinnati Fear still proving to be too tall for Evil Geniuses, but we are super down to give a little bit more time over to Evil Geniuses to showcase what they can do. But it's at what point do we have to start saying they're not a top team? We don't have expectations that they will showcase what we were expecting from the beginning of the split.
I feel like now is the time to talk about it. We already kind of set that up at the beginning of the day, right? The bar. It's been Cincinnati Fear that have been setting the bar for a lot of these teams. If you lose to Fear, then you're at the bottom half. If you win, you're on the top half. And here, EGC losing both games clearly shows that they are below the bar. They are not tall enough to ride the ride of Challengers League. So with that, Cincinnati Fear going to look strong going into this week. That is now 4-0. They are so far in our second part of the round robins. Gotta give them praise for that one, but we are going to toss to a break, and when we come back, we'll bring back Mazel with an interview with the victorious Cincinnati Fear.
The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. Find your drive.
Welcome back to the Verizon post-game interview. I am joined by none other than our Play of the Week master and our Penta man. We got Perry for Fear after a clean 2-0, it felt like, in the day. So, gotta ask, man, you guys have had consistent domination over Evil Geniuses Challengers. What is it? Do you have their number? Your time on Evil Geniuses Prodigies? What's happening?
Ever since, Dignitas days, I think Shaden has just had a problem against me. Him as a jungler, I don't think he likes how I play. There's something about it. I've heard rumors that I might just be his kryptonite. Like, he can't beat me. So, every time I play against him, we're gonna keep winning. We get them in playoffs, we're gonna keep beating them. I don't know. It's Fear against EG, and Fear will win, so.
It's just destiny or something going on in the water here. But I do want to bring up, we were talking so much about you earlier. Congratulations, you did get Play of the Week with your Penta. But when we brought it up, we were talking to JJ a little bit in an interview post-game about the communication, about all the craziness. And I want to give you a chance to talk about your side of the comms and things. When you are the beneficiary of the Penta, what's your mindset?
Honestly, the whole time during that Penta, I was like, what the hell is happening? My ear, all I was hearing was Philip yelling Penta, and I was like, okay. Like, after the clip, I was even like, you guys are crazy. Like, Philip is crazy.
You didn't believe in the Penta, but Philip believed in you.
Philip believed. Yeah. It's just, comms are fun, don't get me wrong. They're way more lively than last split of Fear. I think now, with JJ being here, we have, I guess, a lot more control. We do our best to like stop ourselves and not keep going forward, not baiting each other. But it's still work in progress, and we have a lot more to keep going.
You almost got another one today as well, but we were talking beforehand, and Joshi was asking you, do you guys have like a no man? But maybe there wasn't as much of one in game number 1. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so game 1 was looking a little weird. We were up so much gold, the game was feeling good, but like the comms were very confusing, I would say. We didn't know what we were trying to play for. We didn't know what we were doing. So it's like, oh, we found something. Go. And it went downhill from there. But we came back. So
yeah, hey, that's all that matters in the end. I did want to talk a little bit about prep coming into this one, because Evil Geniuses Challengers, they did have a new addition to their roster. Did you guys have to change anything when you're approaching the matchup? I know Philip knows Surdy very well, but in all actuality, was there any difference in your prep for this weekend, for this matchup particularly?
Personally, just thinking about what champion Surdy plays compared to Soul, I think Surdy is a great player, so I think, we thought about what champs he's good at, what champs we would be good at, and realistically, like, even though he's a great player, we work better as a team, and like he's new, so we had no fear that we would be completely fine against them, regardless of the
fear.
roster change.
No fear for fear. Love it.
No fear for
Second round robin, though. What are your sights set on? What are your personal goals for the rest of this and close out the season?
Yeah, I mean, I really just want to remind myself that if I work on the small things, the basics, the fundamentals, like I did last split, we'll place top 4 again. We'll place higher than top 4 even. Just need to remind myself that, you know, like, the game is very simple when you know a lot, and it's so easy to just do the simple things, and you will literally win by doing the simple things. You don't need to go crazy.
Just simple thing.
Just telling myself, you know, I can just relax, play the game. It's a normal League of Legends game. Just chill, you know.
Have to check back in and see if the chill had happened later on.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to talk to you later on, especially at the end of the season. But I did get to bring up your tiger fact earlier. We got to have a little bit of fun with that one. Your favorite animal is the tiger. Now, I did want to ask you. I didn't get to get the answer in our DMs, but do you have a reason why? Is there any kind of sentimental value, or is there anything behind the fact, or is it just because tigers are pretty damn cool?
Tigers are cool. I like cats. They're similar. So, I mean, yeah, tigers are cool.
Hey, cats and tigers, they're
Cats and
hand
tigers,
in hand, right? Just
Yeah.
maybe don't have a tiger at home. What would you have? Any exotic animals if you could have one at home?
I don't know. I'm happy with my cats, really. I will have a few more cats, okay? I'll have a few more cats.
What is up with all the esports players and just loving cats?
Cats are awesome.
Is it just because they're easy to take care of?
They're easy, they're chill, they sleep, they're adorable. I love cats.
All right. You heard it here first. If you're an esports player, you got to get a cat because it's easy.
Yep.
Now, I do want to give you some chance to give some shout outs here. Anybody you want to talk about before I let you go?
I mean, for sure my mom. She's so sweet. She's probably in the chat right now. She's just typing all the time. I love her. You know, she's been supporting me my whole journey since like 2 years ago. My teammates right now, they wanted to play with me on Fear. They're playing amazingly recently. And the coaching staff, everyone's putting in the work. My family, just, you know, all the people who are supporting me, regardless of how good we do, how bad we do. I appreciate everything.
Well, I appreciate you, Perry. Thank you so much for all the wise words, and I'm sure we'll get to talk to you again. We'll check in on those words for you in the future as well.
Yep.
And we'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
All right, we're going to go ahead and send it to a small little break while we get ready for our second series of the day, so don't you go anywhere.